Welcome to a 2020 Toyota Fortuner 2.8 GD6 4x4 automatic in a very nice silver color. We are at Grabouw 4x4 today, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the features and the off-road ability of the new Fortuner and how it compares to the vehicle it's based on, the Hilux. We tested a Hilux previously, exactly the same engine-wise, except the Hilux is a manual. This is automatic, 130 kilowatts, 420 newton meters, 6-speed automatic with sport mode and manual override. It's interesting how things tend to get prettier with age. When this generation came out, I was not a big fan of it. I thought, wow, what direction is Toyota going in terms of a design? But now, as other competitors are starting to release new models, this looks, in my opinion, quite good, and I think it's going to age quite well. There are a few little, call them quirks, in terms of a design. The meeting point of the nose, in my opinion, is a bit too high up, but the advantage of it is an excellent approach angle. So in terms of the overall design, and especially now looking at the back, the Fortuner now feels like a model on its own and not just something that's based off a different model. It has completely different looks of a Hilux, and I've liked that they've made it striking but not too in your face. But I would definitely go either white or silver. It will just work. It won't get too dirty. Okay, this one is very dirty, but that's because we've had a lot of rain this weekend and I took it onto a very muddy road to get the opinion of someone who's owned a previous Fortuner to see what he thinks of this current generation. And the standout feature to him was, if I just unlock the car and hold the button in, electric tailgate. Magic. According to the owner, previous Fortuners suffered from issues closing the boot because if you have the windows up and everything closed, there would be a big air pocket and you would struggle to close the boot. So the addition of a electric boot is just, in terms of a convenience, it makes it just a more pleasant vehicle to use. There is a manual override button inside that you can turn off the electronic assist, or there's also a button to control the electric boot from inside. In terms of space inside, I'm 1.85 meters. The seat is currently in my position and I still have plenty of legroom. I'd be more than happy to sit here for a long journey. There is a 12 volt socket, normal lighter, and then at the bottom there's a 100 watt 220 volt 2-point plug, which in my case is charging cameras, which we tend to go through quite a lot while we are out on these shoots. So up front is where this new Fortuner starts to really come into its own. The dash is completely different to the Hilux. Different gauges. Okay, the infotainment system is the same. There's lever on the dash, there's metal looking plastic trim. Again, 12 volt socket, USB and auxiliary, downhill descent control, your high and low range controls are here, it's electronic. Keyless entry and ignition start, shifting paddles behind the steering wheel. Not my favorite design. They sit quite far in behind the steering wheel, which makes it at times a bit difficult to reach. You really feel like you are extending your finger to get to it. But all of the materials in here is top quality. Nothing feels out of place or cheap. Even the grab handles are nice and solid. They're a nice quality plastic, nice soft roof lining and mirrors, cruise control, audio controls, phone, Bluetooth, maps that are quite accurate, although at times I found on my way here it doesn't have the correct speed limit information, at times giving speed limits that are higher than it actually is, and at times giving information that is lower than it is supposed to be. So as I mentioned, this specific vehicle is fitted with the 2.8 GD6 diesel engine combined with the 6-speed automatic. As a combination, I think it suits the Fortuner very well. It has the right combination of power delivery when you want it and the right gear when you need it, and as a result, very good fuel economy. I drove about 50 kilometers to get here, a combination of highway and a pass, and the fuel economy sat around 8.2 liters on 100 when I finished. So I think it's time we set up the GoPro and let's go into this beautiful part of the country. We are so fortunate that in half an hour I can go from sand driving in Melkbos to crawling up a mountain in Grabouw next to a very nice looking dam. And let's see what the Fortuner is all about. It's on Dunlop Grand Trek ATs with a slight highway balance, and let's see how easy it is to take this Fortuner off-road. I'm going to try and stay in high 4 for as long as possible. There are going to be sections that I'm going to put it in low range. I will tell you when I am putting it in low range for a certain obstacle. The terrain here is quite hard, so I'm not going to deflate the tires too much. There are a few sharp rocks here and there, and I don't feel like changing a tire if I don't have to. Okay, so I finally arrived at a little obstacle. It doesn't look like much on the camera, but remember this is a very wide angle camera, so it is quite steep, quite loose. Low range, I'm going to try it without diff lock, see how far I get, and then if I feel it's necessary I will put the diff lock on. But let's just see how far we get. Should be achievable. This is a marked route. I'm sure people in standard vehicles come here all the time. Obviously you can go flying up here and you'll probably get to the top, but you'll probably also break something. So obviously anytime you off-road, take as much caution as you can to protect your investment. So that little section didn't want to go up. Diff lock on, no problems at all. I think it is very competitively priced considering the equipment you get as standard, and you're also buying a reputation. You're buying a Toyota. I have to admit, I only have good things to say about this 4x4 system. Most of it's part-time, so your normal on-road driving, it is two-wheel drive only, rear-wheel drive. Then you have your high 4 for gravel roads and trickier situations, and then it's low 4, which I'm currently in, which I will probably go out of again now because it's not at this point necessary. But so far off-road, this vehicle hasn't let me down. More than ample grip levels, even as I said with the tires that it has on. If you put a proper set of all-terrains on with some decent meat on it, I don't think you'll have any problems. The engine is very responsive in power mode. There's also eco mode for your normal cruising. You can off-road in eco mode. In fact, actually, let's do that. And what eco mode does is it heavily subdues the throttle response and making the car less responsive, of course, but it returns very good fuel economy. And then power mode does the exact opposite. It vastly increases the throttle response, making it actually quite sensitive. and perhaps a bit too sensitive for some people's liking. But the advantage of the automatic is it takes a bit of that sensitivity away. I found that in the Hilux, which was a manual, I often found that in the Hilux, pulling away, because I wasn't used to the car, and of course that's just something that will get better with time, I had a few botched gear changes and pulling away just because the throttle is so sensitive. But in the automatic Fortuner, that extreme sensitivity isn't quite there, because the gearbox, it still takes a second, well, not a second, but it takes just a moment to decide what it needs to do, and that takes away from that sensitivity, which makes it a lot easier to drive. In terms of comfort and handling, off-road, it is soft enough, but if you add a load, it will just get even nicer. It's not dancing all over the road, and I still have the tires quite hard. The only thing I would change about this vehicle is different tires, and it was the same story with the Hilux. I think that's the only thing that keeps this vehicle back. If you want more in-detail specs about the vehicle, we are doing a written article on our website as well, so keep an eye out for that, where we will look at not only this vehicle in more detail, but the range as a whole, what engines are available, what spec, pricing, all of the important stuff when it comes to making a decision on whether you are wanting to buy one of these vehicles. So if you like this type of content, please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, comment what you would like to see next, what vehicles you would like to see next, and where you want to see them go. Please also share it with your friends, and share it with us. We all have those friends who you know needs a new car, but let's give him a little hip stootjie, as they say in Afrikaans. So from us at SA4x4, thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you in the next one.